What's something strange your body does that you know isn't quite right but also isn't quite serious enough to get checked out by a doctor? Well, every once in a while my eyes will go blurry and I can't see for a few seconds. I've learned to wait it out, but it seriously freaked me out when I was younger, but from what I know it's basically harmless. By the way, I have 20/20 vision, so it's not my eyesight getting worse over the years. Shira thinks IDK mine's similar to a condition, but instead of going blurry for a few seconds if I've been lying down for too long, then I stand up, then I get this dizzy feeling and I kinda have a blackish static around my eyes which will last for about 2-4 seconds, then I just feel normal. Wait, no, just found out it's called orthostatic hypotension and I'm just really dehydrated. This is what has been happening. Just wanted to correct this to show everyone I finally figured it out. Thanks for the advice from everyone though, and have a nice day. I get that when I'm overly tired, then I won't be able to focus my eyes and I'll have to go to sleep. When I cough, a spot in the middle of my back itches like mad. Also, once every few months I'll turn my head a certain way and it feels like something snaps in my head and a sensation of warmth spreads out in my skull. Probably not a tumor. I will sometimes catch myself mouthing, whispering the last sentence or phrase I spoke. Drives me insane. Drives me insane. I have one piece of hair on my arm that is white and grows super fast and can get way longer than I've ever seen an arm hair be before. My sister has a single whisker that grows out of her forehead. You won't notice it until it's like 3 inches long. It's rigid and plucks very easily. Sometimes, the inability to tell the difference between being nauseated and hungry. That's not abnormal. The nausea is likely the result of a dip in your blood sugar. At totally random times it feels like my heart keeps skipping a beat, and I feel short of breath. It goes on for a few hours usually and then stops. I get rubber band headaches sometimes when I focus on doing a certain task. Sometimes the muscles in my hand will tense up and I have to use my other hand to unfold it. I get visual snow. That crap is annoying, but I don't know if there's a way to fix it. I just googled what this is and didn't realize that it isn't a normal thing that everyone has. Sometimes I feel a very acute short pain in my chest. For like 1/10 of a sec. It feels like it's in between the ribs. Like they pinched the meat. Happens rarely but been happening for years. My body doesn't let me know when I need to pee until it hurts. Like I could go a whole day without peeing and then wake up the next morning with intense stomach cramps that go away after a solid 5-minute pee. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, have I peed today? Well, you never know, and I sit down to discover that my bladder was full. You might be super constipated. Sounds weird, but I went to a urologist for the same thing. They Z-rayed me and that was the answer. I get this sharp pain in my butt that lasts a few seconds and it hurts so much. It makes me stand still and not want to move because it'll just become even worse. LMAO. Doesn't happen too often though. Someone said in another comment this could be proctology. A few jacks. When I sit in a position for too long and then arch my back, my breastbone cracks into place. Not sure if it is the breastbone, but definitely in my chest. Ah yes, cracking your sternum. Best feeling ever. I mean, I got this checked out, but apparently I have a good tumor. Not me, but my uncle. He's almost 70 now. Over the past few years he has gotten more and more grumpy. Yeah, nothing to worry about. His uncle was like that too. Something old people get. He never wanted to see a doctor, even if his cold didn't seem to go away after 2 months a few years ago. That was bronchitis. Progressed to pneumonia. He still has a nasty cough. About a month ago my grandmother was celebrating her 93rd birthday with her children. My uncle just sat there, staring in the distance, and when trying to talk he just mumbled. My aunt finally took charge and took him to the hospital. Brain scan was done. Turns out he had a lot of tiny brain bleeds, probably over the course of several years. Don't ignore personality changes, no matter how slowly they progress. I can't burp. I just get this weird gurgly sound as air bubbles come up through my throat if gas comes up that way. I can rip some mean butt though. Ah, no burp. Sometimes I get this weird feeling like everything is going in slow-mo. In contrast, I feel like everything I do is at normal speed. My brain just wants me to do stuff and I feel this burst of energy that makes me feel great. However, there is always a moment where I feel like I should keep moving because if I stop something bad will happen to me. Usually lasts a few minutes tops. When I manage to calm down everything goes back to normal. Has been happening since I'm a kid. 24 now and still happens every year. I feel the need to close my eyes very tight about once every 5 minutes. Hopefully it doesn't make me look like a complete psycho. This sounds like a motor tic. Motor Tourette's. I have the same thing. But I rapidly blink and clench my eyes shut like constantly. As well as raising and lowering my eyebrows. So yeah, great fun. Every once in a while holding a stack of books or a box or similar shaped stuff where the tips of my fingers bent but the rest was straight, my fingers would lock in place so I'd have to move my arms and hands in a specific way to unlock them and move my fingers properly. About 60% of the time when I take a leak, my pee decides to shoot off at a near right angle. I'm a guy. No correlation with recent lovemaking sessions etc. No way of knowing which direction. I live in fear of the day it finally goes vertical and I waterboard myself. I've always had this, and resigned myself to a life of being the guy that sits down to pee to avoid spraying the floor of the toilet. Just get in the habit of spreading your pee hole apart before you pee. My knees, legs, and butt always vibrate. I don't know why. I might have a phone inside me. Random twitchy muscles. Often enough to notice that it happens, yet infrequent enough not to be of any concern. Muscle spasms. Totally normal. You probably aren't eating enough potassium, drinking enough water, or getting enough sleep. My stomach makes so much noise. Hungry, full, doesn't matter, just weird audible squeaky whistle gurgle noises all of the time. Like there have been times when my husband is across the room and he can hear my weird tummy talking. I also am very irregular and get horrible stomach cramps, dizziness, heart palpitations, and get overheated almost every time I go to the bathroom. This however is a bigger problem and I have a doctor's appointment next week. I had a loud stomach but I later learned it was lactose intolerance. It's all quiet in there now that I don't eat dairy so much anymore. I don't need to pee, then I really need to pee. Like if I don't get to a toilet ASAP I am gonna pee myself. There's no in between. Sometimes when I sneeze I get severe pain, stiffness, and pressure in my arms. Internet says it's a pinched nerve. It goes away after a few seconds. Never told a doctor about it, even though it's been happening since I was a kid. Sometimes I can't swallow food or water. It's like my throat just randomly closes and it isn't a food allergy either. I'm able to swallow if I quickly twist my neck to the side. It temporarily opens my throat. Doesn't happen often enough to warrant a doctor visit. Update. I have consulted a GI about reflux and was told that I have zero symptoms of reflux. So I guess rule that out. I've seen a lot of comments about getting my thyroid checked, and I will since a thyroid issue has come up in the family before. Please see a doctor about this. Difficulty swallowing is a sign of some really unpleasant things coming down the pipe. Every single time I swallow, my ears pop. The bags under my eyes get purple sometimes. I got a bit of a farmer's tan but the parts of my skin that are exposed to the sun are like an olive color. Some days I look as pale as a dead man but feel perfectly fine. My right testicle randomly hurts. I started balding at 16. Sometimes it feels like my heart skips a beat but that actually went away. I hear people arguing when I try to fall asleep. Look up exploding head syndrome. I hear odd noises when I fall asleep sometimes too. People yelling, often my name, or loud clapping or banging sounds, always just for a second. This is one that previously happened and is solved as far as I'm concerned. For a couple years, every time I ran my dishwasher, my eyes got really dry. That makes no sense, right? It was a minor annoyance, but too ridiculous to say out loud, even to a doctor. Years later, I got diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome. My immune system mistakenly attacks my tear ducts and my eyes get really dry. Scientists think it's kicked in by an exposure to a toxin. like mold, that sends your immune system haywire. My old apartment was full of black mold in the walls. Every time I ran my dishwasher it got in there and wet the mold and made it worse. I'm so glad to figure out I wasn't just imagining things because I knew I wasn't. This is some Dr. House level mystery crap. When I'm laying down my legs feel weird and I feel the urge to contract my muscles or IDK just rip them the frick off. They don't hurt of anything, they just feel weird. Also I get all kinds of weird feelings, twitches on my brain that are hard to describe. Sounds like you may be experiencing restlessness leg syndrome. Well, I don't think it's really a problem worth getting worried over, but it's something that I always thought wasn't really normal. I get this really weird feeling in my brain sometimes that's incredibly hard to describe, which is honestly why I've never talked to anyone about it. It's like a brain shiver, like when you get the chills but it's only happening inside your skull and not the rest of your body. There's also a weird almost squeaky sound in my ears when it happens too. When I was little, I used to think it was my brain getting another wrinkle cause I learned something that made me smart. LMAO. Sound a bit like a symptom of SSRI withdrawal. When I stare at something for too long everything goes dark. You oversaturate your retina. It's like going inside from a bright outside. But when you stare you aren't blinking and the light takes over. Blink more. I get sharp pains in my butthole every now and then. It feels like a lightning bolt for about 2 seconds once every 2 months. Proctalgia fugax. It's basically a muscle spasm. Not harmful, just incredibly painful for a few seconds. I have moments for a few minutes once every couple of months where I have a huge memory lapse and nothing feels quite right. Mate, this is serious and you should go to a psychiatrist or a neurologist to check it out. Memory lapses are a huge red flag. I get these shivers across my spine every once in a while. Sometimes they come from a change in temperature, but usually it's if a car comes a little close or someone passes too close behind me. My best guess is a slight adrenaline release. Yes, and people have seen me shiver and commented on it or asked about it and it's like IDK man, I just got a weird body, I don't know what to tell ya. My stomach hurts between breakfast and lunch almost every day, because I'm hungry I guess, and hurts worse after I eat. It's a sharp pain that goes away if I lay completely flat on the ground. I've resorted to laying down in a few public bathrooms before. Happening since 4th grade. I'm going to college now. You need to get this looked at now. It could be an ulcer. It could be a food intolerance. Sometimes my kneecap does this weird thing where when I am laying in my bed, it feels like it is floating or wiggling around. It doesn't hurt but it does feel weirdly uncomfortable for a few seconds. For as long as I can remember I've always had the need to apply pressure on my fingertips and tips of my toes. I don't know how to describe it correctly. It's kind of like I feel the need to release pressure. I get brain snaps. It feels like when you pop a knuckle in your finger. It does not hurt at all, but the same exact sensation, but like in my brain. So writing this down, I never really told anyone this. This seems like I should get it checked out. My left ankle sometimes gives out for no reason, like just stops being an ankle and collapses. Not often, but it is very unsettling when it happens. I no longer feel so alone on my strange pains and aches. Sometimes I'll be walking and I suddenly just dissociate from my body and everything around me. It could either be triggered by my thoughts or just doing nothing at all. I think about how I'm next to nothing in the universe and feel like I'm jumping out of myself. Then my body just feels like it isn't mine. In that moment I try to stop it by looking down at my arms to realize that my body is mine, and to stop thinking about things like that. It takes a lot of distraction to end it. Happened a lot my senior year in high school. Happens on occasion now, and might have happened the other day. Lasts maybe 30 seconds 1 minute. I'm really hoping someone else has gone through something similar. Yes. This used to happen to me so much when I was younger. I would so completely dissociate from my body and myself to the point where I felt like even my name wasn't my actual name. It was so weird, but I remember learning about a term for this feeling in one of my psych classes. I don't think it's anything harmful, if anything it's kind of relieving. Just about every time I step outside on a bright day I have to sneeze. Me too. And whenever I feel like I have to sneeze but it's stuck, I glance up quickly at the sun or a reflective surface. It works every time. I get these moderately painful hiccups 1-2 times a day. Sometimes they're so unbearable I have to literally clutch my chest in pain as it lingers for 30 seconds to a minute. God, I hate my diaphragm. You should see a doctor. Your esophagus is probably spasming from acid reflux. If it happens during or soon after meals, it's probably that. I don't breathe right. You know how you barely breathe? Maybe for 0.2 seconds in and 0.2 seconds out so it looks like you're not breathing? AKA, sort of like how you're taught to breathe in choir while singing? I breathe like that. I didn't think much of it, but I also have chronic medical migraines. I recently realized that if I inhale deeper, expanding my lungs fully, now like how most people breathe, it hurts to stretch them and I get a little dizzy, but it also feels good. Like I just saved some brain cells dying from lack of oxygen, lol. Just like a sudden rush to my brain. This is serious. See a doctor. Like this video and this good boy will play you a nice song. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.